Well, the economy is booming, but big-time Democrats say they're open to backing progressive Senator Elizabeth Warren, who says the president's economic strategy is all wrong. As for the midterms, the New York Times running headlines like this: "Yes, I'm a socialist. Why candidates are embracing the label in 2018. Are Democrats making a big mistake running against what some call the Trump economic bump?" Let's talk about it with our panel: Democratic strategist Dave Brown and former special assistant to President Trump, Mark Lauder. Welcome, gentlemen. Great to have you both.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so let's go over a little bit of what we heard this morning in the jobs report. 223,000 jobs added. 3.8% now is where unemployment falls. It's the lowest since 1969. There was once that tied this in April of 2000. And for African American, their unemployment is down to 5.9%, the lowest in history. Dave, what did Democrats do with that?
Well, this is the economy that Barack Obama built. We're in our 9th year of economic growth and expansion.
You know Mark's not going to let you get
I know he's not going to let me, but I'm going to finish this point.
Okay.
Because this is quite literally the economy that President Obama built. This is his legacy. But what's really interesting about this is that notwithstanding the fact that these job numbers are fantastic, Republican poll numbers are still in the mud. Democrats are leading on the generic ballot. If you look at
that's really tightened up, though. You know, over the last few months.
But if you've looked at
double digits.
If you looked at the special election since Trump took office, Democrats have outperformed on an average of 9 points across those special elections. If that is our performance in the midterms, we retake the House and we retake the Senate.
Mark,
if you look at the generic ballot, it was 13 points at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
It's now 3 points according to the Real Clear Politics average. The right direction of the country number is now 8 points higher than it was when President Obama left office, and it's very similar to the numbers in 2012. Republicans are sitting well, and this comes down to people have more jobs. They have more money in their pockets, and Democrats opposed the things that have jump-started this economy. If you look at the number of jobs being created this year, on average, we are outpacing job growth from 2016 and 2017. This is what the president called rocket fuel, putting it in the economy.
Well, listen, the New York Times. You read what they had to say today. They were using words like splendid and excellent. They said employers are creating more jobs, leading more people to work, and fewer people to be unemployed, and leading wages to rise. Dave, that's from the New York Times.
Look, I think the New York Times clearly had a good time with a thesaurus this morning.
They did.
They wrote that piece. Mark made a point that I actually think is very important. He said people feel better when they have money in their pocket. And the reality is that voters aren't going to vote on the basis of what a jobs report says, which, I mean, it's just numbers. They're going to vote based on how they feel about their economic well-being. They're going to vote on based on how they feel for their family and their family's economic well-being. 40% of Americans today couldn't afford an emergency that cost them $400. They don't have that cash. If you look at the average median savings, retirement savings for working families in this country, it's $5,000. And so there's a lot of incredible economic insecurity. And if you look at even, take wage growth, we saw a slight bump in the numbers today. But
it's up nearly 3% over the past 12 months.
Sure, great, over the past 12 months. But workers have seen stagnant wages, all the while CEO pay astronomical, 300, 400% higher than workers.
But when you look at the increases now, you look at the more money being in their pockets because of tax cuts that Democrats opposed, the president and Republicans passed. When you look at the bonuses that are being handed out to millions of workers, and the fact that we have more jobs in our economy, which is going to put even more pressure on wages to go up.
Except Mark,
companies have to fight to keep the workers they have.
Mark, I would have said money in the pocket, and until the gas prices have jumped. I mean, the gas prices have already eaten the tax break that the poorest Americans receive, who, by the way, are being disproportionately affected by higher gas prices, poor Americans. Also the people who receive 1% of Americans received 84% of the benefit of the tax cut.
Let's talk about Tax Policy Center, which is nonpartisan. If anything, people think it leans to the left. It said 85% of Americans were getting a cut under the tax cut. 10% were just going to remain even, only 5%.
And Shannon, I'm going to quote also from Tax Policy Center when they say that the top 1% of American taxpayers are getting about 83%.
Well, you know how much,
you know
what the percentage of taxes they pay.
Sure, except if Donald Trump was sincere when he said this was going to be a tax cut for the middle class, why on earth didn't he give a tax cut, a real, meaningful tax cut to the middle class?
85% of America?
There are teachers who haven't seen raises.
Let's bring Mark in.
Let's remember, at the end of the day, I think the Democrats have cried wolf on the economy one too many times. Hillary Clinton said the economy was going to tank because of the election of Donald Trump, and Nancy Pelosi called it Armageddon, the tax cut plan. Americans see through it. They see that there's more money in their pockets. They see more jobs. jobs. They see more companies investing in their communities and adding more jobs. That's why you see the right direction number going up in this country. People are more confident, and they're going to show that when it comes down to an election in November, where it's, do you want to keep your tax cut? Or right now, the Democrats are offering a message of resistance and higher taxes.
You're talking about the crumbs, right?
Crumbs, Armageddon, yep.
All right. Dave and Mark, it's great to have you both here with us on a Friday night. Come back.
Definitely.
We will.
Definitely.
All right, very good.
We're going to be June 12th. We'll be in Singapore. It'll be a beginning. I don't say, and I've never said it happens in one meeting. You're talking about years of hostility, years of problems, years of really hatred between so many different nations. But I think you're going to have a very positive result in the end, not from one meeting. I think it's going to be a process that we deserve to have. I mean, we really deserve. They want it. We think it's important. And I think we would be making a big mistake if we didn't have it. I think we're going to have a relationship, and it'll start on June 12th.
History in the making. The president earlier today announcing his upcoming summit with Kim Jong Un. It is back on June the 12th in Singapore. And the president's remarks came after a 2-hour meeting in the Oval Office with the #2 most powerful man in North Korea. Joining us now with reaction to all of this, former deputy assistant to the president, Fox News national security strategist, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, retired CIA senior intelligence officer, Fox News contributor, Daniel Hoffman. You know, it's amazing to me that the president pulls out seconds. It's like within 24 hours. Oh, no. We didn't mean what we said. We got a missile launching site being dismantled, Kim crossing the DMZ, the first time in 18 years high-ranking officials in the United States. We got the hostages released, and no missiles are being fired over Japan, or no threats to the world at this moment, Dr. Gorka, and he didn't pay a dime. It's remarkable.
Yes, let alone billions of dollars. Imagine if this had happened any time in the last 25 years, whether it was Republican administration or Democrat one. If a summit had been cancelled, the normal diplomatic protocols would have meant that it would have maybe happened a year from now or 18 months from now.
Good point.
The president cancels it. He has a very hard letter. He plays hardball, but he leaves that last paragraph open saying, this is so important to both of our countries. If you want to go ahead with it, send me a letter, give me a call. What happens? Within hours, a couple of days later, that letter is hand-delivered to the Oval Office. It's a different way of doing politics. It's a different way of doing diplomacy, and it gets results.
And I'm very impressed with Secretary of State Pompeo. I really am. I think he's been amazing, an amazing addition for the president. You know, Daniel,
Yes.
We were discussing this. I think the president, you were concerned going back a few weeks that you wanted to make sure the president didn't overpromise, underdeliver, although we've already gotten a lot out of North Korea in a good way. And the president was very clear this is a process. Nothing will be signed on June the 12th, that it may take. It would be great if it was one meeting. It would be great if this happens, but it may not. And it may take 1, 2, 3, 4 meetings. They can go as fast or slow as they want.
Right. I was a little concerned at the beginning that I think our citizenry might have expected immediate results. And this is an extraordinary, difficult challenge for us. But what I would really highlight is today's meeting, which was just so valuable for us. Secretary Pompeo had met twice with Kim Jong-chol, North Korea's former chief of military intelligence and a guy who's been responsible for their nuclear negotiations. You're right. He's Kim Jong-un's right-hand man.
What do you know about him?
Well, he's a 4-star general. He was a former bodyguard to Kim Jong-un's family. He's extraordinarily well trusted. And what Secretary Pompeo did today was essentially a warm turnover to the president. And these relationships matter. This is what we base our productive negotiations on, these sorts of high-level relationships on which we can build for...
And Daniel, as you're speaking, I remember I was watching this live today. If we can keep that up on the screen, what we were just showing, and that's the president literally walking him out to his car. You could read how friendly this all was. You could see, you know, it was supposed to be hand over the letter and leave, as the president said, but it ended up being a 2-hour meeting. Sounds a lot like what the meetings that were scheduled with the president of China started out as 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half hour. They go on for four hours.
Right.
So clearly, there's something going on here.
And tactically, it makes so much sense. You know, we relied in the past on six-party talks. Two of those parties, Russia and China, do not have our best interests at heart. And what we're seeing right now is the president expertly mounting an effective diplomatic charge at North Korea with showing our strength and at the same time being open to negotiation. We saw it playing out today in full force.
Yeah. As you were watching this unfold today, Dr. Gork, I'm just curious because you know this president so well. And so many Americans, especially those on the left and in the media, do not understand he is the negotiator.
He is. He's a people person. Read the book, The Art of the Deal. The first chapter is a day in the life of Donald Trump. And in it, he's constantly meeting people. They count the number. He makes 40 phone calls in that day as he's building his empire. It's always about results. And then it was about building Trump International. Now it's about getting America back on track. And in the last year and a half, he's been crushing it.
All right, guys, really good to see you. Appreciate it. Amazing. Economy's great. North Korea's back on. Oh, and the deep state is crumbling. Good news.